Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans dripped in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. We ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on our channels and on X. As the New York Mets look to sweep the Pirates at Citi Field on a rainy day at Citi Field, but we should be able to get the game in. And Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Let's play some damn baseball. I said it was a sweepable series coming into this series, and guess what? They were able to get the job done by the skin of their teeth, really, in the first two games. But wins are wins are wins. We talked about them. We could talk a little bit about, yesterday's win as well. 2-1 victory. Very nice to set up this potential sweep. Rain, go away. I want to watch some Mets baseball today. And the New York Knicks are looking to punch their ticket into the Eastern Conference Finals with the Jalen Brunson burner. I will be live for the post game for the Mets tonight. And that will be after the conclusion of the Mets game and the Knicks game. Whatever comes last, I will be going live after that because I got to watch some Knicks basketball. So let's do it. Big day for New York. Big day.
Absolutely. And I do apologize for yesterday. I had the stream set up, ready to go, doing some errands. I get in to the house and I'm like, uh-oh, nothing's on. Nothing's working. Okay, no problem. Thinking it's not going to be a big problem. Nothing worked. I had to recharge my phone in the car, and then I was like, hey, Chris, yeah, I know I'm like 15 minutes late, but you got to do it at your own stream. Thank you. So, again, Chris held it down, quick action by Chris right there, and I do appreciate that, buddy, to take over that pregame when things weren't working out. But I do appreciate that, and I do apologize for everybody being in my chat and then had to, flip over to the new stream for Chris as well. But thank you guys for that as well. And listen, this is a sweepable series. We talked about this game one. We talked about this for the preview. This is what the Mets needed to do here. They need to, I'm not going to call it a dominated series because it's been anything such that as, Brett the Hitman Beatty hit that go-ahead home run yesterday late in the game to win us the ball game. And, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all. And this is a situation here where the Mets find ways to win. And we talked about this. This has been an entire season, 43 games worth of the Mets. I would say maybe a handful of games where they dominated games and they just, had easy victories. The majority of their wins, regardless of if it's a really good team or a really bad team, just like the Pittsburgh Pirates, we play tough games. This is what we do. And it's a good sign that, good teams win close games. And they find a way, even with the lack of runners in scoring position has been a major problem this season. They still get that one big hit that they need to win a ball game, Chris. So, it's nitpicking with the runners in scoring position because we all know that it could be a problem, later down the road. But as of right now, they're still finding ways to win with that one big hit.
It was honestly the opposite effect yesterday with the Pirates and their lack of hitting with runners in scoring position. They had so many opportunities, especially off of Kodai Senga, to just break through. And it was almost as, me watching the game, every inning, I was like, offense, please, I'm begging you, score more runs because you just know that the Pirates are going to cash in at least one of those times. And they finally did with the bases loaded walk after Senga exited the game. It was, Reed Garrett walking back-to-back batters, but the Mets get it done. And, you know, it is what it is. Your two best hitters looked overmatched, really, yesterday in Lindor and Pete Alonso.
Yeah,
Soto had a decent game getting on base, multiple times as well. Soto gets the off day today. I'm sure we'll talk about that in addition to Brett Beatty. But Brett Beatty is just on fire. Like what he's doing right now, especially over the past week, right? Ever since he got called back up and started playing in one of those games in that Diamondback series, had a great Cubs series and delivered the game-winning home run, solo home run opposite field yesterday. It's a really good sight to see. It's a really good sight to see. He's got over a 1,400 OPS in the past
yeah,
week. I don't like that he's not in the lineup today at all, but yesterday there are learning lessons, right? There are learning lessons from these games even if you are winning them. And the one thing that I'm going to continue to say is clearly the Pirates are a professional organization. They're a professional baseball team. So you expect them, you expect anybody in this league to come out firing against the New York Mets, right? Who are one of the better teams in baseball. It's a big stage for these lowly teams, and they're gonna perform at their best. It's pretty much expected. And we've seen that over the past couple of seasons, even when the Mets have been good, is that sub 500 teams always show up to play against the Mets. So nothing is ever easy. But, the late inning defense is something that needs to
yeah,
be more solid, right? It needs to be solidified. Lindor, we all know he's an all-world defender, but hasn't performed like it in the last, couple of innings, or last inning, I should say, of both of the last two nights. Those are plays that have not come back to haunt the Mets in this series, but maybe against a better team,
yeah,
they that's the difference. You know what I mean? And so the defense, all in all, I think has been great, top to bottom. I will say that. But the late inning situational defense this series has been lacking. And we're talking about 2 wins. So the Mets offense was able to do just enough, and the pitching was able to do just enough. But that's really my only gripe at this point. Mitch Keller looked pretty good. I wish the Mets offense did not make, Mitch Keller look that good, because he came into the game with a 4.40 ERA. I think that must have been his season high in strikeouts against the Mets, because he came into the game with like a 17% K rate, which is well below league average. And he struck out Alonso twice, I think. He struck out Lindor 3 times or something like that. It was crazy. It was crazy. Something about Mitch Keller, the offense just simply love. But nonetheless, it was a game where you expect the Mets to win those close ball games, right?
yeah.
You expect the better team to win those ball games. And the Mets did enough. That's all I'll say. How about we go ahead and just hand it to the Pittsburgh Pirates today, and an ass whooping, and not talk about it being close? That's what I would like. That's
Agree.
that's the
Listen, with an off day tomorrow and quote unquote going on the road after this, obviously it's only to the Bronx and Boston. It's obviously a situation where get this game over with early, right? Let's not leave it up to Clay Holmes in the bullpen once again to do the keeping this game close or keeping the lead a small lead. This is a situation where the offense. I don't care if the Juan Soto's not in the lineup. I don't care if Brett Beatty's not in the lineup. Right? I don't care if Azakar is here. I don't care if Marte's in the lineup. You have a very decent lineup at the top of the order to do the job. Like it is, right? Vientos is in the 2-0 for the first time this year with Soto not playing today. And, I know there's a lot of speculation. Oh, they're getting them primed and ready for the Yankee series. If you want to go into that, that's probably a Yankee fans, glitch and story that they can use. But if you look when he stole the base yesterday, he was flexing his leg yesterday after that stolen base. He played the rest of the game, but he was flexing and with flexing his leg. But with the weather the way it is in New York, you don't need him to take a wrong turn and slip. You don't need him out long term. So rest him. You give him 2 days off, and then he'll be ready for the Yankee series. And again, I know the Subway Series is something that everybody loves. Everybody goes back and forth and all that fun stuff. But it is the next 3-game series, right? You got to take care of business today, because if you lose today, you got a whole off day. Chris will talk about it on the post game, but you got a whole off day to talk about it tomorrow. And you don't want to be talking about a terrible loss against the Pirates when you got you go into the Bronx to play a good team in the Yankees. That's what you don't want to be talking about. You want to be talking about a solid victory against one of the worst teams in baseball. And regardless of what this lineup looks like, most of us don't like this lineup. It's okay, but you win the ball game. And if it takes every single person on this roster to win a ball game, you do it, Chris.
That's it. It's as simple as that. I mean, Mendoza makes the lineup. Do I disagree with what's being posted here? Sure. I mean, I would get Juan Soto. I don't care if he's not playing today. That guy has earned 2 days off, even with the off day tomorrow. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I talked about in the post game with Zach yesterday about how on fire Brett Beatty is right now and how I would like to see him continuously get at bats, even against a lefty in Bailey Falter going for, I think, because we don't have a lineup posted yet from the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is a little bit unusual as it's 5:30, right? Almost, under 2 hours before the ball game. But what I will say is that I would have preferred to see Brett Beatty get this game in as a starter, even as the DH, right? Even as the DH. How many times do I talk about Starling Marte? I don't need to see much of Starling Marte. I don't. But nonetheless, your point remains true. Any variation of this lineup should go out there and beat any given team, let alone the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? And I'm not trying to be demeaning to the Pittsburgh Pirates, but their record is what it is. And they are, right? They have that record for a reason. They're not a good baseball team. They're really not. And so this should be a sweep. There's no excuses, no matter who, what personnel Mendoza throws out there. This should be a sweep. I do like Vientos in the 2 spot.
You said that for a
I
while.
was I was one of the proponents even before the season started of Vientos hitting in that 2 spot. And what is it? I don't know what game it is right now of the season,
44?
but 44?
Yes.
Yeah, game 44. Game 44 of the season, we finally get to see it. Albeit it's no Juan Soto in the lineup. There's no Juan Soto in the lineup. So that seems like the obvious move to just rearrange that top 3 with Mark Vientos, who has found his footing. He really has. I'm very impressed with the at-bats that he's taking. And I've said that for a little bit now. It seems like he is coming along. It really does. I want to see how he produces in the 2 spot.
Yeah.
Another good thing about this lineup is Luis Torrens is back.
Yeah.
He's back. Good news for Luis Torrens recovering from, I guess, the nut shot that he, took a couple days ago. So good to see Luis Torrens back. I like to see Luis Angel Acuna. You all know a big proponent of Luis Angel Acuna and his speed. Rob, even though that I don't like this lineup, right, with the off day tomorrow in a series that's very sweepable, want to ride momentum high into that Subway Series, this lineup should still be able to get the job done. And if they don't, then we're going to have a discussion about it on the post game. But anytime, Mendoza throws out a lineup, we can sit there, sit here on the stream and nitpick, but this lineup should get it done. I'll say that.
Yeah, it seems like every time we might complain a little bit about the lineup, the offense scores runs. Like it's always funny. We're talking on a post game. Well, I didn't like this lineup, but they scored 7 runs today. Like that's been like a trend this year when it comes to certain lineups that we don't like. But yeah, I agree. Like Jose Azocar, right? He deserves starts every once in a while, right? He's played well since he's come up, which is nice to see. Somebody that nobody really cared about. We've seen him in spring training a lot. It's nice to see him in the lineup. And yeah, Luis Torrens back in the lineup. That's good news because, well, we all know the family Jews are very important, and they hurt. The poor guy, he takes a beating behind the plate. But it's nice to see him back there. Yeah, I agree with you when it comes to Beatty. He should have been the DH today. Like, play him against a lefty. Like, I just don't understand the fact that this kid is hitting. The last thing that you could probably check off the list at this point is to see if he can do well against a lefty, because there will be a time, that maybe Acuna is not available. Maybe he got nicked up a little bit and you need to play Beatty against a lefty. now is the first time he's pitching, he's playing against a lefty. This would have been a prime opportunity to see him do it. And again, if he looks terrible at the plate and he has 3 strikeouts and he's flailing at every pitch, all right, you kind of have your answer with that. And he's mostly going to play against your right-handers. But give the kid an opportunity. It's not like he hasn't seen lefties in the minors. So I don't like that. But again, he'll play sometime during this game. They usually pinch hit him. That's the way it works. As soon as the lefty comes out, the lefties come into the ball game at some point during the game. But overall, because when you talked about the defense earlier, right, it's a little shocking with Lindor. He don't miss those plays. And, what is it, 5 errors on the season? That's worrisome in the first, month and a half, so almost a month and a half of the season, already in 43 games. I trust Lindor. Like, I feel like he's going to figure it out. Like, it's the easy plays that he continues to make the errors on, which is always funny to me with most major league players. They'll make the great play, but they can't make the simple play. Can Vientos change his glove? Like, did you see that pocket? Like, holy Christ! Like, you could put a basketball in it. Like, it was that big. Like, I never seen a glove that had only one strap across the pocket. It's weird to me. Like, I've seen like the one strap that's like in the middle, but it seems like it's on the edge of the glove, and there's like a little hole and then the 2 big holes. Like, I don't even know. Like, what are you doing here? Like, that could have made the difference of a game. That glove.
That screwed Senga. That's what screwed Senga.
Absolutely, and he would have thrown out because Vientos got a great arm. He would have thrown out the runner at first to end the inning
easily,
and it ended up being a problem. And it ended up getting Senga out of the game, and we had to use Ree Garrett, which he wasn't great, but he still kept it a tie game, so Beatty can do what he did in the later components of the game. And what about Stanek? I mean, that he was throwing yesterday, like somebody pissed him off. Like, that guy was just, you heard him grunt, and he was throwing 101. There was one pitch that was 101. He was just throwing 99, 100. He was pissed off. Like, I like to see Stanek come back like that.
He said, "The hell with any off-speed pitches. I'm gonna just blow this fastball right by you, even if you know it's coming." And that's the way. Like, if Stanek has to pitch like that, then so be it. Like, his fastball is that electric. Why even just joke around with any off-speed pitches at that point? There's no need to. Just throw the damn fastball right by him. So, was really impressed with the outings of both Kranick and Stanek yesterday. Kranick, who has been a little bit on a downwards trend up until that point, right? With how good he started the season off, we all knew that he was going to come back down to earth at least slightly. And it was good to see him have a really efficient inning, a really efficient outing. And then the cherry on top was Ryan Stanek before we had to sweat out the 9th inning with Edwin Diaz on the mound again. But he gets the job done, posts the 0, gets the strikeout when he needs it, gets the 2 strikeouts when he needs it. And that's now 3 consecutive innings for Edwin Diaz that he posts of scoreless baseball. He needs to get the situation figured out with the running game. If he's going to be walking batters, you can't have a walk turn into an automatic double without even trying to hold a runner on, because with his leg kick, it's free money for an opposing team to steal. And if you're entrusted in a 1-run ball game, that's going to come back to bite you. I'm not saying you have to change your leg kick, but as Ron was saying on the broadcast yesterday, at least make it respectable. At least throw over, keep them on their toes, do something. And so that's something that I think should be in the back of his mind, of Hefner's mind, and Mets fans as we continue to watch Edwin Diaz try to turn it around, which he has, all in all, with the numbers. But why put yourself in those stressful situations if you can just manage the running game from opposing teams a little bit better?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, he gets annoying sometimes, but it should be a situation where you got to throw over just a little bit. Like, you can't rely on the catcher to have a quick pop-up time and a cannon for an arm and get the perfect throw off to get the guy out every single time. Diaz got to be a little bit better. Like, even step off, look a couple of times. You don't even have to throw over. Just look a couple of times. Give the runner at least a little bit of doubt in his mind that you're paying attention to him, because that half step that he might not take in his lead could be the difference of throwing a guy out or not and having a guy in scoring position. And that can be a difference. And again, when it comes down to playing better teams, there might be teams that take advantage of that stolen base and better hitters at the plate and not looking at fastballs right down the middle like the Pirates did all series so far. They take a lot of pitches. They don't swing a lot. They take a lot of pitches. That's their philosophy. And that is something that if a good team you're facing, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have a harder time getting those guys out and keeping that runner stranded in that inning. So that's got to change a little bit. Again, step off, look the guy back a couple of times before you throw the pitch, something that gives a doubt in that runner's mind. And that's something that Diaz needs to, start doing. And I know they're telling him that because, again, sometimes we all act like coaches are not telling the players to do something different and to adjust a little bit. I think they are. But again, if you played baseball, once you get to the plate, once you get to the mound, your mind just shuts off and you try to not think too much. And, we've all been there, Chris, when you're playing baseball, right? Your coach will tell you one thing, and then as soon as you get into the batter's box or the pitcher's mound, you're like, all right, I'm ready. And then you completely not worry about what the coach said because you're trying to focus on what you're trying to do, the task at hand. And you're trying to not overthink everything. And then when you're hearing voices, that's when you start thinking too much and you're worrying about everything except what's important right there. And that is you and the pitcher at that point. So I think that, Diaz just gotta adjust a little bit, step off, look the runner back, something. Right? Even if you don't want to throw over, even if you're worried about throwing over and you're going to throw it away, step off. Right? You got, you got an extra step off just in case if you need it. But, that's got to change because against a good team, that stolen base could be crucial. Again, if you're playing a Pirate, you can get away with it. But a lot of the times you're not going to get away with better teams. So nice to see Diaz getting a little bit better here. He does give us a little bit of heartache most of the time, but he finds a way to get the job done with the 2 strikeouts and to win a ball game. So, overall, guys, the lineup, interesting. It is what it is. We can't change it, right? That's Mendy's lineup for today. Clay Holmes. What are you going to say about Clay Holmes, right? I mean, he's been doing everything that I wanted to see from him, right? He's pitch count getting higher, length. He's pitching well. Like, there's nothing to complain about with Clay Holmes, right? Again, I'm still in my back of my mind. I'm always worried that those innings are going to catch up to him at some point, but I'm not worrying about it right now because it's only start 10 of the season for him, I believe, or 11, something like that, 9 or 10, something like that. So I'm not worried about, the innings right now. It's still in the back of my mind when it gets to like 90 innings. Let's see, if he can continue to give the length and provide good starts for us once he hits that plateau of innings that he hasn't hit in a very long time. But, I mean, he's been outstanding. There's no reason why he can't dominate this lineup whenever the Pirates post their lineup, Chris, with Clay Holmes.
Have they posted it yet? Because I haven't seen it.
I haven't checked since we came out live.
No, they still haven't posted it. That's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah, I wonder if there's an situation. Or they're hoping the rain starts.
Yeah, maybe because I mean, Chaminade was throwing out on the field and it was just downpouring, and that was like an hour ago. So hopefully the rain clears out. But no, I mean, you saw it yesterday with Kodai Senga. We've been kind of like waiting for that point where Mendoza would extend him a little bit more. He came out there the first time and he stayed in the ball game. Mendoza made that conscious decision to give him one more batter that should have resulted in an inning-ending ground out that Vientos had go through his glove. And that's just the way things work. And then we'd be talking about a 6-inning outing, right, of great baseball, of scoreless baseball for Kodai Senga versus the 5 2/3. But 102 pitches, that's the first time that he's thrown that since, at some point in the 2023 season. So it's really good to see. I think Mendoza is going to start at this point. If they're having a decent outing, these starters, right? Trying to extend them just a little bit more and gradually continue to do that. And Clay Holmes is coming off of a fantastic outing against the Chicago Cubs lineup that was awesome. Need to see that efficiency again. Need to see him work with less traffic on the bases, just as he did in that Cubs series. And, Clay Holmes has the stuff. He has the stuff to do it. It's just the command and the location, particularly with his fastball. Is he locating that fastball or is he not? Because if he's not, we're going to get that 5-inning outing that we got from him a couple times to start the season off. You know what I mean? And, I believe in Clay Holmes. I really do. And so it's good to see him finally figuring it out. And I'd like to see a replication of last outing. I'd like to see that.
I
But
agree.
what I will say, in tandem with a good outing from Clay Holmes, we need to see the offense
Yes.
give these pitchers some support. And I said that very slowly and methodically for a reason. Kodai Senga dancing in and out of jams, right? With basically a 1-run lead, throughout that entire time. Not acceptable.
Yeah.
Not acceptable. You know what I mean? I'm sure he didn't appreciate that in the back of his mind when he's out there. Get him a 3-run lead. You know what I mean? Get him a 4-run lead. And so I hope that the offense really shows up today in a major way, because we haven't seen it thus far in this series. And we've been getting some pretty good pitching performances. I like the pitching performances. We just need more offense. So that's what I'm really watching out for. Clay Holmes, go out there, do what you do, throw strikes. Let this Pirates lineup put it in play. I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily worried about them hitting the home run ball. I mean, Ke'Bryan Hayes had a really good game yesterday, hit the ball, on the screws probably 3 times off of Kodai Senga, and Senga was still able to get out of the jam. But the Pirates lineup all in all, and I don't want to jinx anything, but they haven't really been hitting the ball hard. There's not really much home run power with them.
Yeah.
So make them put it in play, make the defense make the plays behind you, and offense, wake up. Let's win defiantly today. Let's win definitively today. Let's do it. That's what I got, really. I mean, that's what it boils down to. In a series where you are clearly the better team over the Pittsburgh Pirates, there's really not much else to say. Go get a job done, offense.
Yeah, I mean, you don't score against a bad team and you keep the game close. It takes one bloop and a blast. It takes one error to break open a game. Like we almost saw that yesterday, and it could have been a difference of a 2-1 victory and a 2-1 loss. Like that's the margin. You don't have that much margin of error here when you don't score runs. And look, we've been talking about this a lot, right? They've been playing a lot of close games. It's been a lot of 1-run, 2-run ball games that have been going late into games. And, eventually at times the Mets actually broke out late in games and they'll score a couple of runs late in the game. And then it's kind of an old contest. But they've been keeping it way too close. It has to been every pitch is like a stressful pitch for each one of our pitchers, because one mistake can change the outcome of a ball game. And again, you don't want to lose to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know it's baseball, right? You're gonna lose against bad teams. It's just how the cookie crumbles. It's just how it goes. Like you can't predict this stuff, especially with baseball, because somebody can have a bad outing, a team can hit, but more often than not, it's been the offense that has been lacking behind making this team elite, because they're very damn good, but they're still missing that next level. We've talked about the next level that this offense needs, and it still seems like, when Soto's going and Nimmo's going, Lindor's struggling, Alonso's struggling. Like they're not all, doing what they need to do at the same time. We all know if they all get hot or at least good enough at the same time, it's very hard for a pitcher, I don't care who he is, and a good or a bad team, to get through a lineup like this when everybody's hitting. It's a tough lineup to get through. We haven't really seen it. We haven't seen it at all this year, that at least the top 4 is actually hitting and running on all cylinders. We have not seen that yet. And we're in game number 44. It would be nice for today, without Soto, without Beatty, to, run up the score a little bit, right? Give Clay Holmes a whole home victory, right? Where he don't have to worry about walking one guy and it's like, oh, here we go. 1-run lead again. Now he walks somebody. Hopefully he doesn't give up, a couple of hits here and then it turns into a shit show. That's something that we just don't need right now. We want a nice New York sweep tonight, right? We want to sweep the series, and we want the Knicks to beat the Celtics and head to the Eastern Conference Finals. We want a clean sweep today, no stress, right? We want an off day tomorrow. We don't want to complain about tomorrow about a Mets loss, a Knicks loss, and then we got to worry about Game 6, and we have to worry about a Yankee series during that same time period. I want to deal with one stressful situation at a time, all right? That's what I want to worry about. At least that's the way I feel. And I know you feel that way, Chris, as well.
Listen, Rob, if I have to come on the post-game show later tonight with a Mets and a Knicks loss, I don't really know what I'm gonna do, to be honest. I'll be out of it at that point. I'll do the show, but I'll still be out of it. So, I'll take one of two, but give me two of two. And I will say though, I feel bad talking about it. Should I even mention it? I feel like I shouldn't mention it. But there's a certain outcome that always has happened, over the past week and a half or so, of when the Knicks and the Mets play on the same day. I think I saw on social media. So let's continue that trend. Let's continue that trend. Yeah, let's continue that trend. I'm not going to jinx it, but let's please continue that trend.
Yeah. And, could we just defend White on the perimeter, please? That would be nice.
Seriously.
Oh my
Seriously.
God.
That's the one thing. I mean, I don't want to see him make 7, 8, threes anymore.
You're making him look like Jordan out there. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, come on. Like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. It is a Mets pregame, but, it's playoff basketball. Like come on. Like, we're allowed to talk about that. And there's more than enough Knicks fans in the chat. But, overall, Chris, like, when it comes to New York Mets, they're 13 games over 500, right? This is the high mark of the year for the New York Mets, 13 games. And listen, keep on going, right? I want to get to that 20-game mark. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know maybe it's a lot to ask for right now, but I want to get to that 15, 16, 17 games over 500 because, again, there's going to be a stretch this year of about 10 games. We kind of had it already, so to speak. We really never went like 2-8 or anything like that, but, we went 5-5, 4-6. It was a little rough stretch, but if you do get that stretch where you're 2-8 in the last 10, which, again, it'll probably happen at some point, you want to be enough games over 500 where now it sucks that the Phillies keep on winning and they're right behind us, but it's not going to hurt you completely. And it shatters your season where you got to, fight back the entire season for 3 months just to get back where you need to be. I want to see consistency here. And besides the starting pitching that has been, Mr. Consistent, like they've been, if you want to rank them, the number one, biggest reason why the Mets are 21-8-15, and you can probably put the bullpen number 2. The offense has been, struggling number 3. And
no, that's not a question. It's been rotation, bullpen, offense. That's
and
what
you know what? It was supposed to be flipped, right? It was supposed to be lineup, bullpen, starters, and it's been the complete opposite. And again, maybe that will change. It is baseball, it can drop on a dime and just change on a dime at any minute. But it needs to start at some point. Now, when is that going to happen? You hope tonight. We'll see. But I just want to see consistency. Like, they'll score 10 runs, then they'll score 1 run, then they'll lose a game because they didn't score runs and they have 12 men left on base with, 8 runners in scoring position that they couldn't get in. Like, that's a frustrating stat to look at because even when the Mets win, we all do it. You go on to game day, you look at the box score, you scroll down, and you see the left on base. You see the RISP. Right? Even when they win, you want to look at it now because it's so talked about on YouTube. It's talked about on every sports network. It's talked about on, New York radio. It's talked about all over the place. So your mind is going to directly go, all right, great, we won. And then you're going to look at LOB and you look at RISP. Like that has been the number one story with this offense, even when they win. It's got to turn a little bit, right? I want to see a little bit, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to get every run in. But could we go 5 for 10 more runners in scoring position? Could we get 50% here? Right? I think we're under 30% with runners in scoring position. Like I think I checked that. I think it was like 26%. Like it's terrible. But even the best teams in the league are, 35, 36%. I mean, nobody's going to be 50%. It's almost hard to do that. But they're around that mark. Like they got to get up into that 30 percentile to, these games should be a no contest. Like yesterday, you could have won 5-1 easily, even though, they had a ton of men left on base, but Senga did his job.
that's what gets me excited for the rest of this season is that
Correct.
there's so much room for improvement with this offense. And, as you just said, without them hitting their stride and still being, 13 games over 500 at 28 wins, one of the best teams in baseball alongside the Dodgers, Padres, whoever else. I mean, that makes me excited, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make me want to say, oh, this team sucks. You know what I mean? Like, how are we only beating the Pirates by 1 run? It makes me say, listen, there's room for improvement for sure, but this team has not hit its ceiling yet, and we're still doing this well. And the fluctuations of a full 162 game season, I always say this that like people love baseball, but I don't think that everybody's equipped to go through a 162 game season and seeing these fluctuations, right? So there's a lot of discouragement with this offense in the way that it's looked, but I look at it as improvement because the bullpen, the rotation have done their jobs to fill in and to pick up the offense. You have to think at some point it's going to be vice versa, where the offense decides to pick up the slack as well. And if the rotation falls off a little bit, right, I don't think they're going to keep this pace. I think that there is some regression that's going to come. You hope that it's not too much regression,
Yeah.
but you hope that also the offense is able to offset
Yeah.
any regression from the rotation slash bullpen. And the Mets will still be good to go. This team is talented. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Really.
Agree. And it's not about hope of this offense. It's the expectation. That's why it's frustrating, right? Like we know they're gonna do it. It's just a matter of when. But you hope they do it while the pitching is still damn good. Because again, we all expect the starting pitching is going to take a little bit of a lull at some point because every team goes through it. Every pitching staff goes through it. The bullpen got through it when they had a couple of injuries and they struggled a little bit over a 10-game stretch. And we already seen that when they were like 4-6 in a 10-game stretch. The bullpen was faltering a little bit, and you seen the starting pitchers do more and the offense do a little bit, but not still enough. It's going to come a time when the bullpen and the starting pitching is not going to win you ball games, and it's going to be up to the offense to score 5 to 6 runs a game over a stretch of 10 to 15 games just to win ball games. And the expectation is there, right? Everybody's expecting the offense to easily score 5.5 runs per game. That should be, you should wake up in your sleep and you should get that runs per game on average. So when is that going to happen? I still think it just can't be two guys in a lineup because again, it was Lindor and Alonso for the first, for about 20, 25 game stretch where they're the only ones doing anything. Then Alonso took a little bit of a low, which expected because it can't be red hot forever. Soto picked it up, and then, Vientos picked it up, and then it was Nimmo. And then they kind of went a little bit, on the wayside, going like 1 for 5, 1 for 6 in a 2-game stretch, 1 for 7 in a 2-game stretch. It hasn't been 3 or 4 guys. It's just been 2 guys here or there that's been carrying the offense, and you hope from a big hit for Torrens or Beatty or Acuna. Like, I know that's, the way lineups should work, and yeah, the Mets have a good lineup, and that helps. But, you can't always count on the lower half of your lineup picking up the slack for the big part of your lineup because you're not going to always win like that. You're going to win occasionally like that. But the big boys need to start all around being better. And I want it tonight. Like I want like 15 runs. Like I want by the third inning it's like 9-0. Right. So I can, relax a little bit, eat something, turn on that Knick game, put the Knicks on the big screen, the Mets on the small screen, and watch them playoff basketball. Like I don't need to be tuning into every freaking pitch when it's 2-1 ball game in the 5th inning. Like it's frustrating because we're so much better than this team. And I know yesterday was frustrating for everybody, even though we won the ball game. And it was nice to see Beatty take that ball the opposite field over the wall. But it didn't need to get to that point. That's the bigger problem, right? It's more of a sigh of relief yesterday than a sign of joy because we won. Because that's an expectation, is to win against the Pittsburgh Pirates, not to, fight it out in the late innings and wait for a Brett Beatty home run just to do so. I think that needs to change very much so.
Pirates lineup is out. I do agree with you, Rob, but Pirates lineup is out. No O'Neal Cruz and no Tommy Pham yet again.
Huh. Interesting. Well,
it is interesting.
Good for us.
Take it. I don't know. It's Yeah. There you go, Daniel. DraftKings took him off the sheets because he's not playing today.
There you go.
Um, you can still get into the game in a pinch hit situation, as can Brett Beatty, as can Juan Soto, but he's not starting. But ooh, I was gonna say something and I lost my train of thought. And I forgot what it was. Oh, if I had to ask you, just a little bit of a fun thing here before we, I guess, close out the stream. If you had to bet on one thing, and chat, please let us know what you would bet on here as well. Caps, I know you're a betting man, so let me know. Starling Marte home run to prove everybody, me and you, wrong, right? With judging why Starling Marte is in this lineup, I can see a Starling Marte just a heater of a game in this game,
He
or 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 Luis Angel Acuna hits his first home run of the season tonight. What would you take?
I want to see the power from Acuna, to be quite honest with you. Like, I want to see it, like, because again, he's been a table setter here for the most part, which is perfectly fine with a team like this, right? I love that he's a table setter with his speed and his putting the bat on the ball more and putting better at bats. But I want to see him turn on one. Like, he has a little bit of power. Like, I'm not expecting him in 25 home runs, right? But he should be a 10 home run guy. Like,
Yeah.
I think he should. Like, that should. I want to see that. Because you've seen a little bit of it last year that, he can drive that ball to left center, no problem. He's strong enough to. I would like to see Acuna, but Marte does it. He'll get his one day playing, starting in a game, DHing, and he hits a home run. Like, I know people are so frustrated by Marte because there's other guys that should be in a lineup over him, but Marte hasn't been as bad as most people seem to think he has been. And again, I'm a big proponent of Marte. Again, this is a guy you
That's a
always
hot
get in.
take, Rob. I'm gonna have to disagree with you off the bat there. He's been pretty bad. Like let's be real.
I think he's
He's
been
been
better than
pretty
that.
bad.
Yeah, the stats say so. The stats lie. Okay, he's been pretty decent. Now again, he takes another third strike down the middle. I might punch him in the mouth. I mean, he might kick my ass. He probably will kick my ass. But still, the fact is, I feel like the Marte type of player isn't for the regular season. I think this guy during the postseason, we've seen it last year, right? He was often injured. He wasn't very good. And in the postseason time, he was getting big hit after big hit along with other guys. But I still think a guy like that is still crucial for a team, even if he plays once a week. I know it's frustrating to say that, but it's proven. Like, I don't want to see him in a lineup every day, but Marte's going to hit a home run today. Like, he'll turn on one. He'll probably strike out 3 more times during that game, but he'll hit a home run. Like, it's just what he does. Like, he's not the same player anymore, right? He's on his last legs. We all know that. He was a good Met. Definitely the first year we got him. I mean, he was outstanding. And I give him, he's gonna, live in the laurels of 2022 for a long time with the Mets, even though we don't like the ending of it. But would I rather see Beatty as the DH today? Of course. But Mendy doesn't like Brett Beatty playing against lefties. We know that. So you should expect a righty, even if it's not Marte in the lineup. I mean, you expect Marte in the lineup or another right-hander in the lineup when there's a lefty on the mound, when Beatty's in it on this roster. So, again, I'm not excited about it, but if we have to rely on Marte to get a big hit, I still trust him. I do.
Hopefully he comes through for
you know
you.
what? Honestly, Chris, who's getting a big hit? I mean, this whole team has lacked the big hit for the most part, running scoring position wise. Like, they've been getting the late inning heroics with the home runs and the big double in the gap to drive in a run. But you know what? Would I be shocked if Marte gets a
Nimmo got a big hit yesterday with 2 outs, runners in scoring position. Brandon Nimmo got the job done in the first inning to set the tone.
Yeah, like what? It
Opposite field hit too.
Getting a big hit. Like, it shouldn't. Like, it probably will because the Mets just love to drive us nuts. But it shouldn't rely on Marte getting the big hit here. But again, yeah, you're right. Nimmo got set the table yesterday for the game, and that was the only run for a long time. But it was nice to see. Again, Brandon Nimmo starting to pick it up a little bit. So hopefully, it's a 10 to 15 game stretch, which he usually has, of a hot streak for Brandon Nimmo, because that's what he does. He'll have a 10 to 15 game hot streak where he just goes crazy, and then he takes a month off and looks terrible, and then he'll throw another 15 games in there and play well. So hopefully this is a stretch of games for Brandon Nimmo to get going a little bit, because God knows he's not a cleanup hitter. So we got to get him going a little bit, just to make it seem like and fake the cleanup hitter that he thinks he is for at least 10 to 15 games and goes through those stretches where he's red hot.
So I guess, okay, my last question for you is that with this lineup, would you have rather seen Brandon Nimmo and Vientos flipped or as is?
I would have loved that. I would have loved that.
That's what I figured.
Honestly, like look, Vientos has great numbers in a 2-hole, so I guess that's the reason why they probably did it. And Nimmo's been mostly the cleanup hitter. But wouldn't it have been nice to see Brandon Nimmo batting in the 2-hole? That is his primary spot in the lineup. We talked about this, right? Because of Soto, because of the way the 1-2-3 has been, and Mendy doesn't want to mess with it. Nimmo's in no man's land. He should be batting 6th in this lineup. But where else are you going to put him? When nobody's been hitting cleanup, Nimmo seems like the logical choice just based on, circumstance. But yeah, I would have loved to see Nimmo too and Vientos clean it up. But again, Mendy don't see Nimmo as a 2-hitter. He just never has. So unfortunately, Nimmo's approach and just he's been the majority of the games as a cleanup hitter. I think that's where Mendy likes him for some reason. But I didn't make the lineup, but I would have loved to see that. That would have been vintage 2022.
Get the win, and we don't care about the lineup. Honestly, That's my thought.
100%. All right, guys. So Mets are looking for the sweep today. We got Clay Holmes on the mound against Bailey Falter. Again, offense come alive today, right? You get a nice off day. Give us a break. Right? I don't need to be watching this game in the 7th or 8th inning, biting my nails, hoping for a bullpen to do what they always done this year and get the job done again. This should be a ho-hum victory. Jump out early. The Pirates, you got to get them 1 foot over on the plane and ready to go, guys. Chris, any final thoughts?
Let's go Mets. Win a ball game. That's it. See you all for the post game.
There you go, guys. Let's go Mets. Let's go Knicks. And Chris will see you on the post game later tonight. Enjoy the game, guys. Let's go Mets.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field, orange and blue.